I'm still shaking as I write this, even though it happened 3 weeks ago. I need to get this out because I haven't told anyone the full story, not even my husband. Well, he's not my husband anymore, but I'll get to that. Everyone keeps asking me if I'm okay, and I just smile and nod, but inside I'm a completely different person than I was a month ago. That dinner changed everything, and what I discovered afterward, what I did about it, I sometimes can't believe I'm the same woman who used to apologize for taking up too much space in my own life. So here's what happened. My mother invited us over for Sunday dinner, which wasn't unusual. She did this about twice a month, and it was always this whole production. My mom, Patricia, is one of those women who measures her worth by how her life looks to others. Perfect house, perfect garden, perfect outfits, perfect dinner parties. I grew up walking on eggshells around her moods, around her need for everything to be just so, but I always told myself she meant well. She loved us in her own way. That's what I told myself for 34 years. My son Charlie, he's 9 years old and he's autistic. High functioning, they say, though I hate that term because it makes people think he doesn't struggle. He's brilliant and sweet and funny, but he has sensory issues, particularly with food. Textures are hard for him. We've worked with occupational therapists for years and he's made so much progress, but he still has safe foods and unsafe foods. My mother knew this. I'd explained it 100 times, 1,000 times. That Sunday, we arrived at her house around 5. My husband Derek was with me, Charlie, and our daughter Emma, who's 6. My brother Michael was there with his wife Stephanie and their 2 kids. Michael is the golden child, always has been. He's a lawyer, makes good money, married a woman my mother actually approves of. I'm a teacher, married to Derek, who's a mechanic. I could always feel my mother's disappointment radiating off her when she looked at my life. Dinner was pot roast with all these sides. My mom had made mashed potatoes, which Charlie usually eats, so I thought we'd be fine. I always brought a backup snack in my purse just in case, some crackers he liked. When we sat down, I made Charlie's plate small portions, mostly the potatoes and a roll. He was doing great, talking to his cousin about Minecraft, eating his food. I was actually relaxed. Then my mother noticed his plate. She got this look on her face, this pinched expression I knew too well. That's all he's eating. Patricia, you need to make him eat the roast. He needs protein. You baby him too much. I kept my voice calm. Mom, he's eating well. The potatoes have butter and milk. The roll is fine. He's happy and eating. That's what matters. She stood up, actually left her seat, came around the table and put a huge piece of pot roast on Charlie's plate. It was swimming in gravy and had those cooked carrots and onions all over it. Charlie looked at it and I saw his face change. He has this tell when he's getting overwhelmed. His eyes get really wide and he starts breathing faster. Mom, please take that off his plate, I said, still trying to keep things peaceful. Absolutely not. He will eat what I cooked. I didn't spend all day preparing this meal for him to eat like a toddler. He's 9 years old, Patricia. She used my full name like I was a child being scolded. Derek put his hand on my arm. Patricia, maybe we should just. No, I said, I was so tired of this. Charlie, you don't have to eat that, sweetie. It's okay. My mother's face went red. He will eat it. Right now, Charlie, eat that roast. Charlie was starting to shut down. I could see it happening. He was staring at the plate. His hands were starting to flap a little, which is what he does when he's stressed. I don't like it, he whispered. The smell is too much. The smell is too much, my mother's voice got loud. The smell of a perfectly good roast is too much. This is ridiculous, Patricia. You've ruined this child with your coddling. He doesn't have problems. He has a mother who won't discipline him. I stood up. We're leaving. Sit down, my mother commanded. You will sit down and he will eat that food and you will stop treating him like he's made of glass. Charlie was crying now, silent tears running down his face, still staring at that plate. Emma was crying too because she was scared. Derek was standing, telling everyone to just calm down. My brother Michael was sitting there looking uncomfortable but saying nothing, as usual. That's when my mother did it. She picked up a handful of the pot roast, gravy dripping between her fingers, and she threw it at Charlie. It hit him in the chest, splattered all over his favorite blue shirt, the one with the star pattern he wore every chance he got. Gravy and meat sliding down onto his lap. If you won't make him eat it, maybe he needs to learn what ungrateful looks like, she screamed. Get out of my house, all of you. I will not be disrespected in my own home by a spoiled brat and his failure of a mother. The room went silent except for Charlie's crying, which had turned into sobs. I looked at my son, covered in food, traumatized, and something in me just went completely cold. Not hot with anger, cold, ice cold. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. I walked over to Charlie, picked him up even though he's getting big for that, and I carried him toward the door. Derek grabbed Emma and followed. As I passed my mother, I looked her right in the eyes and said very quietly, "You will never see any of us again." She started blustering about how I was overreacting, how I was too sensitive, how she was just trying to help. I kept walking. Michael called after me. "Sis, come on, Mom didn't mean it. She's just old-fashioned about parenting." I didn't respond. We got to the car. I buckled Charlie in. He was still crying. Emma was crying. Derek was swearing under his breath. I sat in the driver's seat and I felt nothing. Just that cold, clear emptiness. We drove home. I gave Charlie a bath, got him in clean pajamas, the backup star shirt. I read to him until he fell asleep. Then I went downstairs and Derek was pacing in the kitchen. "Your mother is insane," he said. "Absolutely insane. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, and I meant it. I felt fine, calm, clear. Over the next few days, my phone blew up. My mother called and texted, swinging between angry messages about how I was being dramatic and tearful voicemails about how I was keeping her grandchildren from her. Michael called, playing his usual peacekeeper role, suggesting maybe we could all sit down and talk. My aunt, my mother's sister, called to tell me I was breaking my mother's heart and family is family. I blocked my mother's number. I told Michael that there was nothing to discuss, and if he brought it up again, I'd block him too. I didn't respond to my aunt. But here's where the story really starts. About a week after the dinner incident, I couldn't sleep. I was lying in bed next to Derek, and I was thinking about my mother's face when she threw that food, the rage in it. But there was something else too, something I'd seen but not processed in the moment. Satisfaction. She looked satisfied, like she'd been waiting for an excuse. And then I thought about Derek's hand on my arm at dinner. Maybe we should just what? Leave earlier? Give in? Let my mother abuse our son to keep the peace. That's what he'd always encouraged. She's old, babe. It's just her way. Pick your battles. How many battles had I not picked because of him? I got out of bed and went downstairs. I don't know what made me do it, but I opened Derek's laptop. He'd been spending a lot of time on it lately, always closing it when I came near. I told myself he was looking at car parts or watching YouTube. The laptop opened without a password. He disabled it a few months ago, said he was tired of forgetting it. His Facebook was open. I almost closed it, almost talked myself out of invading his privacy, but I didn't. I scrolled through his messages. The first one I opened was a group chat with his friends. Normal stuff, sports talk, memes. Then I saw one from about a week before the dinner. One of his buddies had written, "How you holding up, man?" And Derek had responded, "Honestly, I don't know how much longer I can do this. Living with her is like living in a special needs facility. Everything revolves around Charlie. I can't even have people over because the house has to be quiet and controlled. I love my kid, but I didn't sign up to be a full-time autism parent." I stared at that message, read it again and again, didn't sign up to be a full-time autism parent, like it was a job he'd applied for, like Charlie was a burden he was nobly tolerating. I kept reading, more messages to the same friend over months. She's completely obsessed with him. Charlie this, Charlie that. Emma barely gets attention, I barely exist. And I know I should be more supportive, but I'm fucking exhausted. I can't say anything right. If I suggest he needs to try harder with anything, I'm the asshole. And sometimes I think about what life would be like if he was normal. My hands were shaking, but I kept scrolling. Then I found a message thread with a name I didn't recognize. Sarah. I opened it. I'm not going to write out everything I read. The affair had been going on for 7 months, since February. It was a woman he worked with at the garage, one of the new service advisors. The messages were explicit. They were also full of Derek complaining about me, about our life, about Charlie. My wife has no time for me anymore. Everything is about our son's therapy and accommodations. She's not the woman I married. Sarah had written, "You deserve someone who puts you first." Derek had responded, "I really do. I'm a good guy. I work hard. I'm patient with a really difficult situation. But everyone acts like I should just be fine with my whole life being Charlie's support system." There were plans to meet up, hotel rooms. A weekend they'd spent together when Derek told me he was at a training in Columbus. I sat there on my couch in the dark, reading my husband's affair messages while he slept upstairs, and that cold feeling from the dinner spread through my entire body. But I still wasn't done. Something made me open his messages with my mother. I didn't even know they texted beyond basic logistics, but there were months of conversations. My mother complaining about me, Derek agreeing, "You're right, Patricia is too soft on him. I know, I've tried to tell her he needs more discipline. Charlie would be better off with firmer boundaries." Then I found messages from the days leading up to the dinner. My mother had written, "I'm going to put my foot down on Sunday. That boy will eat a proper meal if he's at my table. I need you to back me up. Patricia listens to you." Derek had written back, "Do what you think is best. You're his grandmother. You have a right to set rules in your home." After the dinner, after my mother had thrown food at my child and screamed at us, Derek had texted her. I found the message from that night sent while I was upstairs reading to Charlie. I'm sorry about how that went. You didn't deserve Patricia's reaction. She's very defensive about Charlie. I hope we can smooth this over soon." My mother had responded, "Thank you, Derek. It's good to know someone in this family has sense. She'll come around, she always does." I closed the laptop, I sat in the dark, and I started planning. The next morning, I called in sick to work. After Derek left and the kids were at school, I went to see a lawyer. I'd looked her up online, read reviews, found someone who specialized in difficult custody cases. Her name was Margaret Chen, and she was in her 50s with kind eyes and a handshake like iron. I told her everything, the dinner, the laptop. I'd taken photos of the messages on my phone before Derek could delete them. Margaret listened, took notes, and then said, "What do you want?" "Full custody. I want him to have supervised visitation only. I want the house. I want child support, and I want to make sure my mother has no legal rights to my children. The affair helps, but it's not enough for supervised visitation unless you can prove he's a danger to the children." "He's not a physical danger," I said, "but his resentment of our son is documented extensively in those messages. He views caring for his autistic child as a burden he didn't sign up for. What happens when he has Charlie alone and Charlie has a meltdown and Derek is exhausted from being a full-time autism parent?" Margaret nodded slowly. "We'll need more, a paper trail. Does he have any history of aggression?" I thought about it. He punched a wall last year during an argument, put a hole in it. The kids saw. "Did you document it?" I took a picture of the wall for the insurance claim. We said it was an accident, but the hole is fist-sized. "That's good. What about his drinking?" "He drinks, not excessively, but he's driven with the kids in the car after having a few beers. I've confronted him about it." "Text messages about that?" "Probably. I can look." We strategized for 2 hours. Margaret told me to document everything, keep a journal, save every message, record conversations if legal in my state, which it was with one-party consent, start creating a record of Derek's disengagement from Charlie's care, note every therapy appointment he missed, every IEP meeting he skipped, every time he chose something else over our son. I paid her retainer, $5,000 from my personal savings account that Derek didn't know about, money my grandmother had left me. Then I went to see a therapist, not for me, although God knows I needed it. I took Charlie. I'd been putting it off because he had so many other appointments, but I made an emergency appointment with a child psychologist who specialized in trauma. I explained what had happened at the dinner. The psychologist evaluated Charlie and documented his anxiety, his fear of his grandmother, his confusion about why someone would hurt him like that. I did cry during that appointment, watching my sweet boy tell this stranger that he thought Grandma hated him, that he must be bad because why else would she throw food at him. That broke through my cold shell for a moment, but I pulled it together. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I was meticulous. I went through years of texts and emails. I found patterns. Derek had missed 32 of Charlie's occupational therapy appointments over 3 years. He'd attended 2 out of 8 IEP meetings. He'd skipped Charlie's neurology appointment last month to go golfing, all documented now in a spreadsheet. I found our credit card statements going back months. Hotel charges on days he said he was working late. Restaurants I'd never been to. A charge at a jewelry store for an amount we'd never spend on each other, dated 2 weeks before Valentine's Day. I'd gotten gas station flowers on Valentine's Day. Sarah had apparently gotten something nicer. I opened a new bank account and started diverting my paychecks there. I took half of our savings, which I was legally entitled to do. I consulted with Margaret about every step. I also started recording conversations with Derek, not confrontational ones, just daily life. I'd ask him to help with Charlie's bedtime routine and catch his annoyed sighs, his short responses. "Can't you just handle it? I'm tired." I recorded him telling Emma he'd play with her after her homework, then recording 3 hours later when she asked again and he snapped. I said later, "Emma, God, you're as needy as your brother." I went to Charlie's school and met with his special education teacher, the principal, and the school counselor. I explained that we were going through a family situation and that my mother was not to pick up the children under any circumstances. I added Derek to the list of people who needed to be confirmed before release, meaning the school had to call me first. I cited safety concerns stemming from a recent incident. The school was incredibly supportive, especially when I explained what had happened at the dinner. The special education teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, actually hugged me. "We're here for Charlie, for all of you," she said, "whatever you need." I started going to a support group for parents of autistic children. I'd been before, but not regularly. Now I went every week. I met other parents, built a community, established witnesses to what a dedicated parent I was. I also documented that Derek never came with me, despite being invited. Then I planned the confrontation. I needed Derek to show his true colors in an undeniable way. Margaret advised against provoking him, but I knew Derek. I knew his triggers. 3 weeks after the dinner at my mother's, I came home from work and made Charlie's favorite dinner, chicken nuggets, the specific brand he likes, with ketchup for dipping and apple slices. Emma had asked for the same. Derek came home to find the kids eating happily and me making myself a salad. "What's for dinner?" he asked. "The kids are eating. I'm having salad." "That's it. I've been at work all day. You didn't make dinner." "I made dinner for the kids. There are leftovers in the fridge you can heat up." He slammed his keys on the counter. I had my phone in my pocket, already recording. "You've got to be kidding me. You're home an hour before I am and you can't make a real dinner." I was helping Charlie with his homework, and I made dinner. Chicken nuggets take effort too. Chicken nuggets aren't dinner, Patricia. They're what you feed kids when you're too lazy to cook. But I guess everything in this house is about what Charlie wants. I stayed calm. "Derek, if you want something different, you're welcome to make it." "That's not the point." His voice was rising. Emma looked scared. Charlie had stopped eating. "The point is I work all day and I come home and once again, everything is about Charlie. What Charlie wants to eat, what makes Charlie comfortable, what keeps Charlie from having a meltdown. He's our son. His needs matter." "What about my needs? What about Emma's needs? She'd eat normal food if you'd give it to her. But no, we all have to eat like toddlers because Charlie can't handle anything else." "Emma asked for chicken nuggets tonight. She likes them." "Because it's all you offer. Because this whole house revolves around one kid and his issues." He was shouting now. Charlie was crying. I kept my voice level, kept recording. "Derek, you're scaring the children." "I'm scaring them. I'm not the one who's ruined their lives. Charlie's never going to be independent because you baby him. Emma's going to grow up thinking she doesn't matter because all our time and money goes to her brother. And I'm supposed to just work and pay for it all and never complain." "If you're unhappy, Derek, we can talk about it, calmly, not in front of the kids." He laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Talk about it. With you, you don't listen. You never listen. Your mother was right about you. You're so far up Charlie's ass that you can't see what you're doing to this family." There it was, the connection to my mother, on tape. My mother, the one who threw food at our son, that's who you're agreeing with. She shouldn't have done that, but she had a point. He needs discipline, not coddling. He needs a father who's allowed to actually parent him, not just agree with whatever accommodations you dream up. "You are allowed to parent him." "No, I'm not. Anytime I try to push him even a little, you shut me down. Anytime I suggest he needs to try harder, you act like I'm abusing him. I'm tired, Patricia. I'm so fucking tired of being the bad guy in my own house." "Maybe you're tired of other things too," I said quietly. "How's Sarah?" His face went white, then red. "What?" "Sarah from work, how is she?" The silence was deafening. Emma was crying now too. Charlie had his hands over his ears, rocking slightly. Derek stared at me and I watched him calculate, watched him try to figure out how much I knew. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. 7 months, Derek. Hotel rooms. A weekend in Columbus that wasn't a training. Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" He exploded, started yelling about how I'd invaded his privacy, how I had no right to go through his computer, how this was exactly why he needed someone else, because I was controlling and obsessed with Charlie and impossible to live with. He didn't deny it. Not once did he deny the affair. I let him yell. I stood there calm, recording every word. When he finally wound down, I said, "I want you to leave. This is my house too. And I'm asking you to leave. Tonight, now, go stay with Sarah, or your brother, or wherever you want, but you need to leave." "I'm not leaving my kids." "Your kids that you resent, the son you didn't sign up to parent, those kids." I pulled out my phone, stopped the recording, and played back some of his greatest hits from the conversation we just had. His face changed. "You recorded me." "I did, and I have screenshots of your messages, your affair, your conversations with my mother, all of it." "You can't use that. That's illegal." One-party consent state, Derek. I can record any conversation I'm part of, and text messages aren't privileged. You want to try for custody. You want to fight me? Go ahead. But every person in our lives will know what you really think of your son. Your employers will know about your affair with a coworker. The court will know everything. I'd never spoken to him like this. I'd never been this person. He seemed genuinely shocked. Pat, wait, let's take a breath here. I've been breathing for 3 weeks, while you comforted my mother after she abused our son, while you slept with Sarah and complained about how hard your life is. I'm done breathing. I want you out. Mommy, Emma's small voice broke through. Is Daddy leaving? My heart cracked. I went to her, picked her up. Charlie was still crying, still rocking. Derek looked at them, and for a moment I thought I saw actual remorse. But then he said, "This is on you, Patricia. You're breaking up our family." "No," I said, "you did that. You just didn't think there would be consequences." He left, he packed a bag, he left, and the house felt immediately lighter. I comforted the kids, put them to bed, and then I sat down and cried for the first time since the dinner. Not sad tears, angry tears, relieved tears, scared tears, all of it. The next morning, I called Margaret and told her everything. She was pleased with the recording, but warned me that things were going to get ugly. She was right. Derek hired a lawyer, a nasty one. They came at me hard, claiming I was an unfit mother who'd manipulated the children against their father, who'd illegally recorded conversations, who'd stolen marital assets. They demanded 50-50 custody and tried to paint me as obsessive and unstable. But Margaret was better. We had documentation. We had Derek's own words showing his resentment of Charlie. We had proof of his affair. We had the recording of him screaming at the kids. We had school records showing I attended every meeting, and he attended almost none. We had testimony from Charlie's therapist about the trauma from my mother and Derek's failure to protect him. We also had something Derek didn't expect. I'd reached out to Sarah, not to confront her but to talk. I found her on social media and sent a simple message. "I'm Derek's wife. I'm not angry at you. He lied to both of us. If you're willing, I'd like to hear your side of things." She called me. We talked for 2 hours. Sarah hadn't known Derek was married. He told her he was divorced, that his ex-wife had primary custody of the kids, that they barely spoke except about logistics. He'd shown her fake apartment listings, said he was looking for his own place. When she'd started to suspect something was wrong, he'd love-bombed her, made promises. When I told her the truth, she was devastated and angry enough to provide a written statement to my lawyer about Derek's lies, his manipulation, his complaints about his family. It wasn't admissible in court necessarily, but it was leverage. We mediated. Derek's lawyer tried to hold firm on 50-50 custody until Margaret put the evidence on the table. The messages, the recording, Sarah's statement, the therapy notes, the school documentation, the hole in the wall, the drinking and driving concerns, all of it. Derek folded. He agreed to every other weekend and one evening a week, supervised for the first 3 months by a court-approved monitor until he completed parenting classes focused on special needs children. He agreed to child support that was more than the state minimum. He agreed to leave the house and let me buy out his half with my inheritance money, which I'd never told him was more than the amount I'd given Margaret. He tried one last manipulation. "Pat, please, we can fix this. I made mistakes, but I love you. I love the kids. Don't do this." I looked at the man I'd spent 11 years with and felt nothing. "You love us. You told your mistress that Charlie's autism ruined your life. You told your friends that living with me was like living in a facility. You supported my mother after she abused our son. You don't love us, Derek. You love the idea of us, the family you thought you'd have, but you don't love the real us. Sign the papers." He signed. The divorce was final 6 weeks ago. I got everything I asked for: the house, primary custody, support, a clause that my mother is never allowed unsupervised contact with the children and that Derek cannot facilitate such contact. But I wasn't done. I still had my mother to deal with. During the divorce process, she tried to contact me multiple times. She'd sent flying monkeys, my aunt, some family friends, all telling me I was being too harsh, that she was sorry that she missed her grandchildren. Michael called and actually said, "Look, I get that you're mad, but divorcing Derek over this seems extreme. Mom feels terrible. Derek feels terrible. You're blowing up your whole life." I told Michael that if he ever contacted me again on our mother's behalf, I'd make sure his managing partners at his law firm knew how he enabled child abuse. He tried to sputter about how it wasn't abuse, it was just a loss of temper, and I hung up. My mother showed up at my house twice. The first time, I didn't answer the door. She stood on the porch calling my name, saying she just wanted to see the children, that I was being cruel. I filmed her from the window and told her through the Ring doorbell that she needed to leave or I'd call the police. The second time, she brought my aunt as backup. They cornered me in my driveway when I was getting home from work. My mother actually tried to hug me, crying, saying she was so sorry, she'd made a terrible mistake. She'd been stressed and took it out on Charlie, and it would never happen again. I stepped back from the hug. "You threw food at my 9-year-old son because he has a disability you don't believe in. You screamed at him. You traumatized him. He had nightmares for 2 weeks." I know, and I'm so sorry. Please, Patricia, let me apologize to him. Let me make this right. No, I'm his grandmother. You're someone who hurt him. Being related doesn't give you the right to access to him. He doesn't want to see you. He's scared of you. My aunt cut in. Your mother is a good woman who made one mistake. You're being vindictive. This is about Derek, isn't it? You're taking out your divorce anger on your poor mother. I laughed. I actually laughed. Derek, you think this is about Derek. No, this is about 34 years of my mother's conditional love. This is about a lifetime of never being good enough. This is about her valuing appearances over actual connection. But most of all, this is about her abusing my child and showing zero real remorse. I am remorseful, my mother cried. I said I'm sorry. You're sorry you have consequences. You're sorry I'm not rolling over like I always have. You texted with my husband about me behind my back. You planned to put your foot down about my son's disability. You threw food at a child, and your apology is that you were stressed. No, you don't get access to my children, ever. I have grandparents' rights. My mother's tears dried up fast, her real face showing through. There it was, the control, the demand. Not in this state, you don't. Grandparents' rights only apply in cases of divorce where the grandparent had an established relationship and the custodial parent is denying access without cause. I have cause, documented abuse, witness testimony. You want to try for visitation, go ahead. I'll see you in court with photos of my son covered in the food you threw at him, with statements from his therapist, with testimony about his nightmares. I will stand in front of a judge and describe in detail what you did. Do you want that? She didn't, she left. She sent a few more messages, swinging between apologetic and threatening, but I didn't respond. I blocked her number, blocked her on social media, blocked everyone who might be passing information to her. I had one last piece of revenge planned, though, the family reunion. My mother's family has a big reunion every summer. She's always been the matriarch, the organizer, the one everyone admires. She hosts it at her house, makes it a showcase. It was coming up in July. I wasn't invited, obviously, but my cousin Rachel, Michael's wife's sister, was, and Rachel had never liked my mother. She thought my mom was pretentious and cold. Rachel and I had always gotten along. I met Rachel for coffee. I told her everything. The dinner, the food throwing, Derek's affair and his collusion with my mother, the divorce, all of it. Rachel was horrified and furious. I knew your mom was difficult, but this is beyond, she said. What can I do? The reunion, I know mom will play the victim. She'll tell everyone I'm keeping the kids from her for no reason, that I'm bitter about my divorce, that she barely did anything wrong. I need someone there who knows the truth. Rachel smiled. I'll tell everyone who will listen. I'm not asking you to start drama. You're not asking, I'm offering. Your mom has been condescending to me for years. She made a comment at Christmas about my weight. She told my kids they needed to be more polite like Michael's kids. I've been waiting for a reason. The reunion happened 3 weeks ago. Rachel called me after. Apparently, my mother had indeed been playing the victim, telling everyone that I'd overreacted to a small incident, that the divorce had made me vindictive, that she was heartbroken not to see her grandchildren. Rachel waited until everyone was gathered, until my mother was in the middle of her performance, and then very loudly said, "Is that really what happened, Patricia? Because I heard you threw a plate of food at a 9-year-old autistic child because he couldn't eat what you cooked due to his sensory issues." The silence, Rachel said, was beautiful. My mother tried to downplay it, said Rachel didn't understand, it wasn't like that. Rachel pulled out her phone. That's interesting because I have photos. I'd sent them to her. Photos of Charlie's shirt covered in gravy and meat. This is what you did to your grandson, and then you screamed at them to leave. My uncle, my mother's brother, apparently demanded to know if this was true. Other family members started asking questions. My mother broke down, started crying, said she'd apologized and I wouldn't accept it, that she'd made a mistake but I was being cruel. Rachel said she's protecting her child, like a mother should, something you failed to do. Michael tried to defend our mother, but apparently his wife Stephanie was staring at him like she'd never seen him before. Later, Rachel told me, Stephanie had cornered her and asked for the whole story. When Rachel told her about Derek's messages with my mother, about their planning, Stephanie went white. Turns out Stephanie is a mandatory reporter as a school counselor, and she was horrified that my mother had done this. Stephanie and Michael apparently had a massive fight at the reunion. She told him he should have protected his nephew, that his silence made him complicit, that she was ashamed of him. The family reunion apparently ended early with multiple people leaving upset. My mother's reputation as the perfect matriarch was shattered. People were taking sides. Some defended her, said family should forgive, but others were genuinely appalled. My aunt sent me a vicious message calling me a vindictive bitch who'd ruined the family. I replied with a photo of Charlie's face when he was crying at that dinner, tears and terror, and wrote, "This is what she did. This is your family." Then I blocked her too. In the aftermath, something unexpected happened. Stephanie reached out to me. She apologized for not speaking up at the dinner, said she'd been in shock and didn't know how to react. She asked if she could see the kids, if we could maintain a relationship separate from Michael and my mother. I met with her, we talked for hours. She told me Michael was sleeping in the guest room, that she was reconsidering her marriage. He stood by while your mother abused Charlie, she said, and he's been defending her ever since. What does that say about him? What does that say about how he'd react if someone hurt our kids? I told her I understood, but that her marriage wasn't my responsibility. She agreed, but said talking to me had clarified things for her. Last I heard, she and Michael are in marriage counseling, and she's laid down an ultimatum. He goes no contact with our mother and makes amends with me, or she's done. Michael called me last week, first time we'd spoken since the dinner. He asked if we could meet. I agreed, in a public place. He looked terrible, tired, older. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I should have said something that night. I should have protected Charlie. I should have supported you. I was a coward and I'm sorry." I didn't make it easy on him. Why didn't you? Because that's what I've always done. Stay quiet, keep the peace, let mom have her way. It's how I survived growing up with her. But Stephanie was right, that's not good enough, especially not when a kid is being hurt. You texted me after and told me I was overreacting. I know I was wrong. Mom had already spun the story to me, made it sound like Charlie had a tantrum and she'd just been firm. I didn't question it because I never question her, but I should have believed you. Do you believe me now? Yes, completely. I'm in therapy now, actually, dealing with a lot of stuff about mom, about how I was raised. I'm realizing she was abusive to us too, just in different ways. The control, the conditional love, the golden child and scapegoat dynamic. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry you bore the brunt of it. We talked for 2 hours. I'm not ready to fully forgive him, but I told him we could work toward rebuilding our relationship. Slowly, with boundaries, he agreed to everything. He's gone no contact with our mother. She's apparently falling apart, calling him constantly, showing up at his house. He's blocked her too. Stephanie is speaking to me regularly now. Their kids ask about Charlie and Emma. We're planning a playdate next week. As for Derek, he's stuck to the custody arrangement. The supervised visits didn't go well at first. Charlie was anxious around him and Derek didn't know how to handle it. The monitor noted that Derek seemed frustrated by Charlie's needs and uncomfortable with the structure. But he's been going to the parenting classes, and according to his last report, he's improving. He's learning about autism, about sensory issues, about how to actually support Charlie instead of resenting him. Emma asks about him. She misses him. That's been the hardest part. Emma didn't understand why Daddy had to leave. I've been taking her to therapy too, helping her process the divorce. She knows a kid-appropriate version of the truth, that Daddy and I couldn't be married anymore because we wanted different things, but that he still loves her and she'll still see him. Charlie, surprisingly, hasn't asked about Derek much. He's asked about why we don't see Grandma, and I've told him the truth in terms he can understand. Grandma made a bad choice that hurt you. She wasn't safe, so we don't see her anymore. He accepted that easily. Kids understand safe and not safe. As for me, I'm different now. People have commented on it. My friends, my coworkers, even my hairdresser. You seem stronger, they say, or you're more confident, or there's something different about you. I'm not the woman who apologized for existing anymore. I'm not the daughter who absorbed my mother's criticism and begged for crumbs of approval. I'm not the wife who made myself smaller to accommodate a husband's resentment. I'm a mother who protects her children. I'm a woman who knows her worth. I'm someone who doesn't accept abuse and call it love. The cold feeling I had that night at the dinner, it's not cold anymore. It's clarity. It's power. It's the feeling of standing in your truth and not wavering. My mother sent a letter last week. Actual snail mail since I've blocked every other avenue. It was 12 pages long, handwritten. She said she's been in therapy, that she realizes she was wrong, that she's sorry for everything, not just the dinner but years of poor treatment. She said she understands if I never forgive her, but she wanted me to know she's working on herself. She said she loves me. I read it 3 times. Part of me, the little girl who always wanted her mother's love, wanted to believe it, wanted to think she'd really changed. But I know my mother. This is what she does. When control doesn't work, she tries manipulation. When anger doesn't work, she tries tears. When nothing else works, she tries therapy speak and claims of change. Maybe she is in therapy, maybe she is working on herself, but that doesn't mean I owe her forgiveness. It doesn't mean I owe her access to my children. Her change, if it's real, is something she needs to do for herself, not as a bargaining chip to get back into our lives. I wrote back one page. I received your letter. I appreciate that you're working on yourself. That's good and important. But I need you to understand that my priority is my children's safety and well-being. What you did to Charlie was not a small mistake. It was abuse. It caused him real harm. Therapy for you doesn't undo trauma for him. I wish you well in your journey, but we will not be part of it. Please respect this boundary and don't contact me again. I mailed it yesterday. I don't know if she'll respect my wishes. I'm prepared to get a restraining order if necessary, but I'm also at peace with my decision. Someone in my support group asked me last week if I regret how I handled everything, if I wish I'd tried to salvage my relationship with my mother or my marriage, if I think I went too far. I thought about it, really thought about it, and the answer is no, not even a little bit. That night at the dinner, when my mother threw food at my son, something broke in me, but it wasn't my spirit. It was the illusion that these people loved me the way I deserved, the illusion that I had to accept whatever treatment they gave me because they were family, the illusion that keeping the peace was more important than protecting my children. I didn't cry when my mother screamed at us to leave. I went cold, and in that coldness I saw clearly for the first time in my life. I saw my mother's cruelty. I saw my husband's betrayal. I saw my brother's cowardice. I saw exactly who these people were. And I chose my children. I chose myself. I burned down my entire life and built a new one from the ashes. People think revenge is hot, explosive, dramatic. Sometimes it is. But my revenge was cold and calculated and thorough. I didn't yell or throw things or make scenes. I documented, I planned, I executed. I took everything from the people who'd hurt my child and hurt me. My mother lost her family, her reputation, her role as matriarch. Derek lost his marriage, his home, his daily access to his children. Michael lost his marriage stability and had to face ugly truths about himself. And I won. I got my children safe. I got my peace. I got my power back. Someone asked me what I would say to my mother if I saw her now. I don't think I'd say anything. She's not owed my words. But if I had to, I'd tell her this. You threw food at my son and expected me to forgive you because that's what I always did. But you miscalculated. You pushed me too far. And now you get to live with the consequences of underestimating how much I love my children. You get to live with the reality that your need for control cost you everything. I hope it was worth it. The truth is, I don't hate my mother. I don't hate Derek. Hate requires caring, and I don't anymore. They're just people who used to be in my life and made choices that removed them from it. I'm indifferent, and that indifference is the most powerful thing I've ever felt. My son is happy. He's thriving in therapy. His nightmares stopped. He smiles more. Emma is adjusting to the new normal. We have movie nights and make pillow forts, and I'm present with them in a way I couldn't be when I was managing Derek's resentment and my mother's criticism. I'm happy for the first time in years, maybe ever. I'm genuinely happy. I wake up in a house that's peaceful. I make decisions without second-guessing myself. I enforce boundaries without guilt. I exist without apologizing. Last week, Charlie and I were making dinner together. Just pasta, his favorite shape with butter and parmesan. He was telling me about a book he was reading, some fantasy series with dragons. He was animated and excited and completely himself. And he stopped mid-sentence and said, "Mom, you look pretty when you smile like that." Like what, buddies? Like you're really happy. You smile like that a lot now. I hugged him. That's because I am really happy. Because we don't see Grandma anymore. The question surprised me. That's part of it, but mostly because I realized that we get to choose who's in our life, and I choose people who are kind to us. He thought about that. I choose you, he said. I choose you too, Charlie, every single time. That's what this all comes down to, choice. My mother chose her pride over her grandson. Derek chose his comfort over his family. Michael chose his cowardice over his nephew's safety. And I chose my children. I chose myself. I chose truth over false peace. So no, I didn't cry when my mother screamed for us to leave. I didn't cry when I discovered my husband's affair. I didn't cry when I served divorce papers or when I went no contact with my entire family of origin. I went cold, I planned, I executed, and I won. And now on the other side of it all, in my quiet house with my happy children, I finally cried. But they weren't sad tears. They were relief. They were freedom. They were the tears of someone who'd been holding their breath for 34 years and finally could breathe. People say living well is the best revenge. They're right, but sometimes living well means scorched earth first. Sometimes it means burning down everything that's hurting you and everyone who enables it. Sometimes it means being cold and strategic and ruthless. Sometimes the best revenge is showing people who underestimated you exactly what you're capable of, and then forgetting they exist and living your best life anyway. I still have hard days. Divorce is hard. Single parenting is hard. Being estranged from your family of origin is hard. But it's a clean hard. It's honest hard. It's not the constant grinding stress of managing other people's dysfunction and cruelty. Emma asked me last night if Daddy was ever coming back home. I told her no, that he has his own home now. She said, "That's okay. It's quieter now. I like quiet." My 6-year-old likes that her home is quieter. That tells you everything about what our life was like before. I'm building something new, a life where my children feel safe, where their needs are met without resentment, where kindness is the baseline, not an aspiration, where people who hurt us don't get unlimited chances to do it again. If my mother really is in therapy, really is changing, I hope she finds peace. I genuinely do. But she'll find it without me, without my children. We're not her redemption story. We're not her opportunity to prove she's grown. We're just people she hurt who removed ourselves from her reach. Sometimes I wonder if I'll regret this in 10 years, if I'll look back and think I was too harsh. But then I remember Charlie's face covered in gravy, his tears, his fear. I remember reading Derek's messages calling our son a burden. I remember my brother telling me I was overreacting. And I know I'll never regret protecting my children from that. The most surprising thing about all of this is how many people have come out of the woodwork to support me. Friends I thought were casual acquaintances have shown up with meals and babysitting and fierce loyalty. Other parents from Charlie's therapy groups have become real friends. My coworker whose sister is autistic has been an incredible support. Even some people from my past, people I'd lost touch with, reached out when they heard what happened and offered support. I'm building a chosen family, people who show up, who respect boundaries, who love my kids for exactly who they are. It's smaller than my biological family was, but it's real, it's solid, it's safe. And maybe that's the real revenge, not the scorched earth, though that was satisfying, not the legal victories or the exposed affairs or the ruined family reunions. The real revenge is being genuinely happier without them. It's building a life so good that their absence is a relief, not a loss. My mother wanted me to need her. Derek wanted me to be grateful for his tolerance. Michael wanted me to stay small and quiet and manageable. They all underestimated me. They all thought I'd bend like I always had. But I didn't bend, I broke free. And that coldness I felt, that moment of clarity at the dinner table, that was the sound of chains breaking. I'm free now, free from my mother's conditional love, free from Derek's resentment, free from the version of myself who apologized for existing, and I'm never going back. So when people ask me what happened, why I got divorced, why I don't speak to my mother, I give them the short version. Family issues, we're better off now, and we are. But the long version, the real story is this. My mother threw food at my autistic son. My husband betrayed us. My brother enabled it all. And I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't collapse. I just systematically removed every single one of them from my life and built something better in the space they left behind. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. That's the thing about being underestimated your whole life. People think they know what you're capable of. They think you're weak because you're kind. They think you're a pushover because you choose peace. They think they can hurt your children and you'll forgive them because you always have. But kindness isn't weakness. Choosing peace isn't the same as accepting abuse. And a mother protecting her children is the most dangerous force in the world. My mother found that out. Derek found that out. They all did. And now I'm just living my life, taking my kids to therapy and school and playdates, working, reading, gardening, existing peacefully in a space I've made safe. Sometimes Charlie still asks why Grandma hurt him. I tell him the truth, that sometimes people have problems inside themselves that make them do hurtful things, and it's not his fault, it was never his fault. He seems satisfied with that. Emma is doing better. She's in therapy too, working through the divorce. She started to open up more, talk more, take up more space. I realized she'd been making herself small too, trying not to add to the tension in the house. Now she's louder, sillier, more herself. It's beautiful to watch. As for me, I'm in therapy as well, working through childhood trauma, the abuse I didn't recognize as abuse, the patterns I need to break. It's hard work, but it's good work. I'm learning who I am outside of other people's expectations. I'm learning to take up space. I'm learning that I deserve love that doesn't come with conditions. I'm also learning that what I did, the cold calculation of it, the thoroughness of my revenge, that's okay too. I don't have to feel guilty for protecting myself and my children. I don't have to second-guess my decisions because they made other people uncomfortable. I'm allowed to be ruthless when someone hurts my kids. My therapist says I'm one of the most psychologically healthy people she's worked with, which surprises me. But she explains that healthy doesn't mean undamaged. It means you recognize damage and do something about it. It means you set boundaries and enforce them. It means you choose yourself and your children over dysfunction. So yeah, I'm healthy now, healthier than I've ever been, and it only cost me everyone I thought I was supposed to love. Worth it every single time, worth it. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe Derek will actually change and become a better father. Maybe my mother will do the work and become a better person. Maybe Michael will fully reconcile with me. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. My happiness isn't dependent on their growth or their apologies or their presence. I'm happy now, today, in this life I've built from the ruins of the old one, and that's enough. More than enough, it's everything. So that's my story. That's what I did when my mother threw food at my 9-year-old son and screamed for us to leave. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't forgive. I just went cold, got clear, and systematically dismantled every relationship that was hurting me and my children. And I'm not sorry, not even a little bit. I'd burn it all down again to keep my children safe. I'd go scorched earth 1,000 times over, because that's what love actually looks like, not performance or martyrdom or endless forgiveness of the unforgivable. Real love is fierce and protective and willing to destroy anything that threatens what you're protecting. My mother taught me a lot of things growing up: how to set a table, how to dress appropriately, how to make polite conversation. But the most valuable thing she taught me that night at dinner. She taught me exactly who she was, and I finally believed her. Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I'd given my mother 34 years of second chances. That dinner was the last time I ignored what she was showing me. And Derek, he showed me who he was in those messages. Someone who viewed our son as a burden. Someone who could lie to my face while seeking comfort elsewhere. Someone who would ally with my abuser against me. I believed him too. The best thing that ever happened to me was that dinner. I know that sounds insane, but it's true. That night cracked me open and all the truth came spilling out. About my mother, my husband, my family, myself. And once I saw the truth, I couldn't unsee it. And I didn't want to. I wanted to live in reality, even if it was painful, even if it meant blowing up my entire life, because the alternative was continuing to live a lie, continuing to pretend these people loved me the way I deserved, continuing to sacrifice my children's well-being for false peace. I couldn't do it anymore, and I didn't have to, so I didn't. I chose truth, I chose my children, I chose myself, and I've never looked back. Well, that's not entirely true. I look back sometimes, but not with regret, with amazement. Amazement that I stayed as long as I did. Amazement that I accepted so little for so long. Amazement at the woman I used to be and how far I've come from her. She was kind, she was patient, she was loving, and I still am all those things. But now I'm also strong. I'm boundaried. I'm protected. I'm someone who loves fiercely but not foolishly. Someone who gives chances but not unlimited ones. Someone who knows the difference between healing and enabling. That woman at the dinner table 3 months ago, watching her mother throw food at her son, she made a choice in that moment. Not to cry, not to yell, but to go cold, to get clear, to do what needed to be done. And I'm so grateful to her, to pass me, for being strong enough to stop the cycle, for being brave enough to blow it all up, for loving us enough to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. So if you're reading this and you're in a situation where someone is hurting you or your children, where family is asking you to forgive the unforgivable, where you're being told you're too sensitive or too harsh or too dramatic, I want you to know you're not. Trust your gut, protect your children, choose yourself, and don't apologize for it. People will call you cold, unforgiving, bitter, vindictive. Let them. You know the truth. You know what happened in the moments they didn't see. You know the years of small cruelties that led to the big explosion. You know what you're protecting your children from. And you don't owe anyone an explanation. Not really. You just owe yourself and your children safety and peace and love without conditions. That's what I chose, that's what I built, and I'm never going back. My mother threw food at my son and screamed for us to leave. I didn't cry. I went cold. I planned. I executed. I won. And now I'm free. And I'll stay free for the rest of my life, no matter who it costs me, because my children deserve a mother who protects them, and I deserve a life where I'm not constantly managing other people's dysfunction. So that's it. That's my story. The whole messy, painful, triumphant truth of it. I'm putting it out into the world because I need to say it. I need to own it. I need to stop carrying it alone. And maybe someone else needs to hear it, needs to know that you can walk away, that you can choose yourself, That cold calculation in service of protection is not cruelty, it's love. That burning it all down and starting over is not only possible, it's sometimes necessary. I did it, I survived it, and I'm thriving now. And if I can do it, so can you. Whatever your version of that dinner is, whatever moment of clarity is waiting for you, when it comes, trust it, act on it. Don't let anyone talk you out of what you know to be true. Your children are watching. They're learning from you how to be treated, what to accept, when to walk away. Show them strength, show them boundaries, show them that love doesn't mean tolerating abuse. That's what I'm showing Charlie and Emma every day, in every choice, that we don't accept cruelty, that we protect each other. That family is who shows up for you, not who shares your blood. That it's okay to walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're sorry, even if they're family, even if other people don't understand. We get to choose, every day we get to choose, and I choose this peaceful house, these happy kids, this hard-won freedom. Every single time I choose this. And I'm never looking back.